we're back again. We are back for the final time today. We have covered games 5, 6, and 7, and we are moving on to our ultimate, not even penultimate, our ultimate game of today, and it will be AXIZ versus DFM. Both playoff teams from spring, both teams which are close to our heart in a different way for each team. However, this is not going to be an easy game for our darling princess in AXIZ. They had a difficult game versus Burning Core. So, I said this in the last pre-game, but do you have any initial thoughts on this matchup? Initialize, because I did say initial.
All right. I think having seen 3 games of AXIZ now, I am ringing the alarm bells specifically for the jungle. Hoglet looked good in spring when he was on things like Rek'Sai, when he was on things like the Sejuani. Carry junglers that are becoming more and more meta don't seem to be something that Hoglet is particularly comfortable in. His Graves was a bit lackluster. We saw the Silas last game. Steel could rip him apart knowing that. And I am getting nervous for AXIZ knowing it.
However, it should be noted that in their first game versus DFM, of course, they were 0-2 versus DFM in Spring Split. However, DFM didn't lose to very many teams at all. AXIZ were willing to bring out the cheese, bring out something different, innovate a little bit. They brought out Karthus Tristana in their first game versus DFM in spring. So Lexi, knowing that AXIZ are a team to innovate, and I know that they do have this roster, which is not maybe their first roster choice. What are you expecting out of AXIZ? Do you think they're going to innovate, or do you think they have to stick true to their draft and try and just change the way they play?
Put Hogler on support duty like he used to be, because that's when you used to get a lot of your wins. So revert back. I know the meta's crazy, but if you're going to start getting those wins, get those Ws like you used to get, came 5th place in the spring split, put him on Sejuani duty. It might not be great, but trust in Urnyan and in your new top laner as well.
Yeah, Natsume, of course, we've had some kind words for. Had a bit of a difficult game in the last one with Rayfaki absolutely popping off. Also worth noting that Trundle is a very prevalent pick right now. Maybe something that could be taken away from Steel, one of our other predominant Trundle players in the league. Small Sunshine and Rainbows, though, for DFM. They had a hard-earned win versus Rascal Jester, and Seros is looking out of sorts. What do you guys make of that?
Yeah, I think that's probably a fairly good way to put it. DFM drafted the comp that wanted to keep people at arm's length and didn't manage that super well. They let through a Katarina thinking they could play against it and clearly weren't all that practiced versus it. People were making aggressive moves for kills and failing to get them. Saros notorious for that one in that last game. The flash over the wall to try and get onto the Ornn did not work out. We'll have to see. I still think DFM should clean this one up, and I suspect their coaching staff will have yelled at them for the sloppiness in the last game. But their macro was still pretty good, and we saw moments of brilliance.
It's also worth noting that also Ebby, after a rough early start, did turn around for a huge performance. Do you want to know what his damage share was in his Mordekaiser game versus AXIZ in the last split?
Go for
it.
32.3%. Most top laners have like a 17%. He absolutely beat the crap out of Urnyan in that top lane in that Mordekaiser versus in that Mordekaiser match. I know it was Set versus Mordekaiser, I believe it was. I'm trying to remember. Yes, but he had an absolutely huge game versus them, and he could very much reprise that performance himself. However, of course, Urnyan is not in the top lane today. He's playing down in that bot lane. So Ebby versus Natsume. Do you think that could be a weak point for AXIZ, or something that might go better for them than it did for Urnyan?
I think it's very hard to say. It will be not a weak point. You're looking at the best top player in the league with a jungler that knows how to play around him. If they can sync up Nidalee and bloody Renekton stuns, but put that to the side. And I can't say I'm that excited for the bot lane either. I think Gang's Bard looked pretty good, and Utapon on Ezreal is a treat anyway, so I think it will be a difficult matchup.
I think Apamen's ears pricked the second you said best top laner, and he's like, wait a second, hey, I'm still here.
He is still here, but I will soon not be, because it's champion select time, and once again, I will depart you, dear viewer, dear casters. Hope you have a good time. Good luck, guys.
Janet. Pleasure as always. Thank you, Nymera and Mass1. This will be our last game of the day. Got a couple interesting teams on the Rift. It'll be DFM on the blue side, and they'll have Ebby, Steel, Seros, Utapon, and Gang on their roster.
And for AXIZ, we have Natsume in the top lane. Hoglet, I want to compose myself because it is AXIZ and it is our darling child.
Indeed.
So,
Darlings.
in the top lane, we have Natsume. In the jungle, we have Hoglet. In the mid lane, we have Gariaru. And in that bot lane, we have Unyan. And as we know, as always, we have Corporal in that support role.
A very distinguished team indeed.
Oh,
to bring it back.
Yes. Composure is necessary for a team.
Maybe one day we'll yes, like I apologize. I've lost my monocle. I can't read the screen anymore.
What do you mean, sir? Are you okay? We've had some bands come in. I think we've got a Callista, a LeBlanc, and I'm going to stop this.
Keep going. Yeah.
So we've got the Callista, the LeBlanc, and Twisted Fate coming out for bands from DFM.
Yes, we do. And of course, to bring it back down to something resembling a little bit more serious, it's the Varus, Trundle, Karma bands for AXIZ, all of which make a lot of sense. They're powerful picks, and they're all picks that DFM definitely play. It does leave Syndra open, though, and that Syndra is a very powerful pick at the minute. DFM lock it in straight away. We know they flex it. We know both Seros and Usupon look good on it.
Yeah, they look great on it. We're not surprised here. And obviously the bans coming through was completely obvious. The LeBlanc coming through, very common. But worth noting that Zoe is open at the moment.
Yeah, it is.
And that's something that they always aggressively
ban. Is a really yeah, I think so. I think we'll see what DFM decide to do here. I think Syndra to Zoe's not an awful matchup for Syndra. Again, I don't really know it super well, but I could think it has a lot of ways to get something onto it. But like Zoe's, I'm listening here, my producer here, and Nightmare is chiming in, suggesting that actually Syndra and Zoe's not a fantastic matchup for the Syndra, so you might be right that Zoe could be risky. Before that, though,
Scatter the Weak is a fun ability.
The Zumi lock-in. Ezreal Yuumi.
We've got the Ezreal Yuumi lock-in, very common. We saw this from them last round, and to be honest, if anything, the bot lane of AXIZ looked the most stable for the longest time until it all fell a little bit apart through collapse. So I'm actually totally fine with this. This also sets up for a poke com. You know, a champion that's great in a poke com? Zoe. So
Zoe.
If they're able to do this, go for it.
Well, looking like Aphelios has been locked in for Utapon, and it will be Lulu locked in as well. We called it out, and Nightmare said, well, what if Seros plays the Lulu? And I told him, nah, they haven't done that. It's not their kind of thing. And I was clearly being facetious because, let's be real, it absolutely is. Still opportunity for Gang to go towards that. He has liked his Enchanted Sports. Could well be going towards Seros. Actually, unlikely. I apologize because the Syndra's already locked in. So it will be that Lulu support, and I'm chatting mad crap.
You might be chatting mad crap, but Hoglet has got the Graves, a champion we saw from them less optimal, but with a Yuumi it does make it a lot better, and you can definitely have that carry Graves where he just doesn't die. He can 3v2 very comfortably with a Yuumi on his back. So we're going to see some bans coming through, and, well, we're not too surprised. The Renekton coming through for Ebby. Right, that seems pretty legit.
So we've got things like Ornn, like sets available. There's things like the Mordekaiser that people have been playing, particularly the LPL likes that. Wukong on the table right now.
Very true.
There's the Hecarim that Ebby's gone to before and looked pretty good on. I'm assuming the top lane is where the focus will be. Zoe is banned out here. They don't want to add in another bit of poke to join the Ezreal and Graves burst, along with, let's be real, Yuumi prowling project on that. So I think the Zoe ban makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of bans still that have to be thought of here, and with mid laners and mid laners for AXIZ, top lane for DFM being the focus here. The Olaf ban taken off as well. Still a pretty good one player of that. So that's where they see AXIZ's last ban going towards.
Yeah, some pretty interesting spot. I mean, this is an interesting statement from AXIZ, right? So they had the option to either let Hoglet have a priority champion like this Graves, or they could go for Gadiaru and say, hey, we're going to give you a priority pick, we're going to give you this Zoe, and then we're going to just try and figure out what we can work with afterwards. So AXIZ are clearly confident. This is just a funsy
I know it's a hover.
horror.
I know it's a
We
hover.
know this is a
but it would
funsy
be
hover.
so much fun.
That seems a bit more like it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's locked in. Okay, well, momentary excitement.
I would
You
have
know,
preferred
it's
Corki,
unwise to get excited over hovers, but
Yeah.
I couldn't help it. The Aurelian Soul would have been so much fun. It would have been an AXIZ weird, beautiful draft strat. It's not. It's going to be Gadiaru's Oriana. It's been good previously. It's not a bad thing to throw a shield on top of a Graves. There's a little bit more burst to join in with your collateral damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of, well, if you have someone like Graves goes right into the middle of something, or whoever ends up being this top lane, as they have given Natsume the counterpick potential, or maybe counterpick security against Ebi, as it's not really a counter, it's more have maybe a 50-50 matchup, because this is Ebi, and be warned, only currently Appamen seems to be able to 1v1 him, and well, we all know Rayfaki can always give him a good taste of his mouth or money or whatever. But obviously the Bard Hover, normal for Corporal to troll Nightmara.
Would be entertaining.
Purely. Only reason.
Alas, we are going to steal back towards the Nidalee. It'll be Ebi's infamous set
as
well.
There you go. There you go.
Go on, lock it. Do it. Do it. I know it's not going to happen, but one of these days we'll see the Evelyn lock in. Alas, it'll be Aatrox, and I feel like I've seen this matchup before. Mass one set versus Aatrox, not a common matchup at all. No, I've never seen it before.
So
don't know how it plays out at all.
We know Corporal is familiar with our little community that we have got here over in the LJL, and I'm pretty sure he does love to troll us, and that's why we always see the Bard hover then into the Evelyn hover to say, sorry lads, you're not going to get it. He can't really troll me unless he picks Thresh and lands hooks. Like, that's the only way to troll me, when he watched my stream and trolled me. So, I mean, that's the only way
That's not right.
Yeah, he did it IRL. It's just one better, right?
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll be writing a strongly worded tweet at him. That's not on. Can't be dealing with this kind of BM in a draft. But alas.
Okay. So, sir.
Yes, sir.
One last time, sir. Who do you think has a more favourable draft out of these two comms?
I will give it to DFM, if only because I've not been impressed with Hoglet's Graves as yet. And I think having a lot of setup, particularly with Syndra stuns and set face breakers for Nidalee, sounds pretty goddamn terrifying. And Uinyan and Corporal survived lane last time on the Ezreal Yuumi, but they burned 3 summoners consistently. There wasn't a hook champion this time, so maybe there's a bit of room to survive, but Hoglet needs to step up for me, or I think this is going to be trouble.
I think that's a fair analysis. I'm also looking forward to seeing Natsume. I think this is a great Aatrox team with Corporal, with Gadiaru playing that Yuumi and Oriana. Really good champions to kind of just throw onto an Aatrox, the ball throwing onto an Aatrox. Aatrox loves to get into the center of everything, pop his ultimate, and just kind of wail down on Yutapong and Ebi, really, and just kind of try and give it to the rest of the team and hopefully find a way onto Syros. I am interested, though, to see how good Gang's Lulu is, as it's been a while since we've seen a lot of Lulu supports, as it would be.
We've got kind of... There's the double enchanter supports here. It's the Yuumi versus the Lulu. It's the Wild Growth versus the final chapter, the Zoomies versus the help picks and the likes. This will be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm... Of the opinion, I think Aphelios definitely scales harder in terms of damage, but the Ezreal just is so survivable. And if someone doesn't land some CC on him, I think Ezreal's going to have a lot of room to be poking out the CFM. But we'll see. There are things like Scout of the Week. There are things like Gravitum that you just can't avoid with Arcane Shift. So, room and ways to catch him. And this is a lot of faith to put into a player who's not really an ADC main.
Yes, I think that's very fair. But this also might be one of Onyan's more comfort picks potentially. This is something they are far more comfortable in playing because that's just where they are with their champion picks. It makes more sense for them to, well, if this is your main thing you play in that role and people aren't banning it against you, well, I'm just going to keep playing it and this is where I'm comfortable with it. So it's not ideal, but it's definitely an option they have open to them.
Old tech of Yumi versus new tech of Lulu. It's been played a fair few times, this split already, in various regions, 36 times worldwide. I believe this will be the 37th. So it's definitely been showing a bit of a resurgence, but there have been a number of champions that have been. And, you know, Aphelios has always got the issue of he needs to be alive to put out damage. He doesn't have ways out. He's not got great magic resist. Nymera was mentioning before, he had the lowest base magic resist in the game for a reason. Give him a Lulu Wild Growth, give him a shield, and suddenly he's a lot more tricky to deal with. And it will in fact be Gang's first Lulu game ever.
Well,
period.
I hinted towards being excited to see Gang on this Lulu, as I didn't recall seeing them before, but being this first ever game on him, high expectations are on Gang, as he is arguably our premier support player in the region, but players like Proud and Corporal have definitely tried to make him aware that if he gets content in his place, they will definitely be coming for them. And that's not talking about the teams that have high win records at the moment.
Well, we've got a Season 10 spring staple of Set versus Aatrox in the top lane. We've got a summer special of Graves versus Nidalee. We've got a Season 6 revamp of Syndra versus Orianna. It's just a little bit of something new with this Aphelios Lulu coming out versus an old staple of Ezreal Yumi. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. There's a lot of team fighting available. There's a lot of poke available on both teams, and I think we're going to get some cataclysmic team fights around dragons.
Oh, it's going to be beautiful. We might not see any team fights for 5 minutes, and then everyone fights immediately, and then everyone goes back to doing their own thing for 5 minutes, and then again 5 minutes. It's going to be a constant amount, but Twitter, you can see the AXIZ vote compared to spring, it was about 2%. It's now up to 17, so there's definitely just people going, nah, AXIZ are going to win, and I like to be with them on that, though we did all agree that it's going to be difficult for DFM, for AXIZ to win this against DFM, who are looking a little bit shaken from their first game, though still a victory.
And stat spot of the LJL, what is your wisdom? It was a 48% chance for DFM to win, a 52% chance for AXIZ to win, and it's the face breaker start for Ebby again. It's just so damn obnoxious. Set gets a load of healing back as well. The pot's been burned from Natsume already. Nebby will find his way onto this wave easily first off. Check where those junglers are starting. They're both done the bot side starts. Graves just slightly ahead of the Nidalee right now, but Nidalee does clear out those Raptors really, really fast. Another face breaker and the 1-2 punch coming through. Level 2 is just a bit of a nightmare spot for Set as he throws out their Haymaker true damage as well.
Wait.
It feels,
Wait
Maswan.
Yeah.
Like, every time we see Ebby on Set, we just spend the entire time with the observer watching the early levels because he abuses the level 1 and 2 so damn hard.
Yeah.
He's only got 2 CS. It doesn't matter. He's just been there pushing the health bar down.
It's always just such a interesting lane to play against because I'm getting vivid flashbacks to this happening to another member of AXIZ before. Eunyan getting proxy farmed on Ornn, I believe, that one time. And Ebby ended up being level 3 while Eunyan was still level 1, just chilling under his turret going, something will happen eventually, I hope.
That'd be Mordekaiser. It was that one again as well, where it was some miserable stuff. We are finally starting to see a little bit of CS picked up for both top laners, but it is a big discrepancy in favor of Ebby right now. Hoglet's around, but he's gone Krogs back down to Raptors, whereas Steel is roaming up straight away, having popped that vision plant to think about a dive up here. There's not the straight CC setup of Ebby, of the Renekton stun with the W, but with the ward over the wall there, Steel's going to think possibly twice about coming in for this. Hoglet just out of vision, walks over the trap, and that's going to prevent any more engaged. The spear landed on Natsume, but Hoglet is there to shield his poor,
Ebby?
beleaguered set. And actually, Ebby going in on Hoglet here. This is a very aggressive dive. That's a good spear. So going in, Hoglet taken very, very low. Haymaker is flashed. Ebby's still trying to get in. He's flashed out as well. And Hoglet using that E. That is a big, big deal. But everyone survives. Double flash burn by DFM. The spear is avoided with a quick sidestep.
Well, they still want this. They're still
Not
hungry.
done.
They're fishing.
Oh my days. Ebby has to be so damn careful. He's got Haymaker up again, remember? He's going to have to use it. Get the first blood. Oh, that was just awful. And the spear over the wall claims a second. And the top 2v2 for DFM this time looks as tried and true as ever. The bot lane is looking awful as well. Uinyan survives with the Graviton binding Eclipse not quite claiming his life. He's singed, but not quite dead there with Infernum as well.
DFM. All right, Ebby. All right, mate. Come on.
It's not done.
We need to have a talk about this. You got to stop bullying almost every other top laner that isn't Appamen or Rayfarki.
No.
Okay, we need to talk about. Oh no.
No.
Oh.
Here we go again. They're just going for him. He's gonna try. He just does it. Seros teleports in as well and gets.
Oh, he's dead.
No, he is finally died. Okay, well, I think you take it. It's 1-1-2 for the set. It's 1-0-1 for the Nidalee. It's a kill donated to Seros. And Gary Aru's like, guys, what are you doing? Stop feeding my lane opponent. And the top three of DFM looking so much more synchronized. Their attempts at landing, they're not getting out traded. And Hoglet might try and go for this Ocean Drake, but will be taken pretty low. Uinyan is going to trade back onto Gang and Utapon, but that is a put from the Lulu, who sprints away using the Whimsy. Hoglet still thinking about going around for this. He's coming round the back. Going to see what they can. Going to come forward. Taken very, very low. But remember, he's got the Yuumi. That's an exhaust down. But Chakrams with Infernum, they're getting stacked up. Corporal and Hoglet taken very, very low. Going to have to keep running around. Hoglet turning back around, trying to get something. But to get something off. Burn is huge, not quite enough. Severum's up. Sentinel turret is down. And no kills come through. It is 4 summoners down for AXIZ down the bot side. The teleport we used to get back to lane from Uinyan after that early hit. Flash and barrier used from Mute, spotted a heal from Gang as well. It's just the one summoner spell at all available in the bot.
So, to recap, Hoglet didn't get a kill for either of those. He also didn't actually get that Ocean Dragon that we assumed he started up and then decided to peel off of. That's huge because the whole team of AXIZ and Steel specifically get to, of DFM rather, get to just know that they can still get that dragon and just keep having priority and running around the game. They were more than happy to sacrifice that for the amount of pressure they had put top lane on Natsume. But the idea that Steel can still secure that dragon is, well, pretty good in DFM's book. It's pretty good.
It is, and I think I do want to touch on this set Aatrox matchup again, because like the farm in relative terms, or like in general terms rather, before we go to relative terms,
Right.
isn't actually all that high for set. He's 47 farm. He's down a few compared to the Syndra and the Aphelios. But in comparison, relatively to the Aatrox, it is a 20 CS lead. And that Aatrox, which is the important thing, is only just crested 25 farm at 7 minutes into the game. That is an ugly space to be in for this Aatrox. It's a phage to a double longswords.
I think this is the kind of thing that I think every top laner would love to practice against in solo queue or in scrims, right? You'd love to just 1v1 Ebby and just understand what you're routinely doing wrong. Or just against DFM, because Steel is so important as well in a lot of these spots. Just learning how to overcome this kind of disadvantage would probably turn you into world-class talent just almost overnight if you got that good. But it's not quite easy as Seros, oh my donkey balls.
My days.
What?
Gariardi is taken very, very low there. He's got himself corrupting pot in inventory. He should be able to find his way back to some health bar, but he's got to be a bit wary. Hoglet's going to roam down as well. There's the shockwave. They're looking to turn this around. Seros may need to flash, but Steel's around as well. It'll just be the ult for ult trade, all things said and done. Hoglet trading with the Nidalee. Spear does miss. And that'll be the end of all that jazz. But Seros feeling himself there. Nearly had the kill. If Steel had been around, maybe would have had a bit more. But forced the look in from Hoglet at least.
I mean, it was very well played. They just were able to chunk him down, able to reset around, figure out where he can go next. And by this point, Sirius's ult is already halfway done, and Gadiadu still isn't back into lane. By the time he is, he's going to be very comfortable to look at it and go, well, it's fine. I'm ahead. I'm looking good. I might be down on CS, but now I'm basically at parity. He gets to farm the current lane, and before I know it, my ult's going to be back up, and I've just scared him off for a bit. Great time to reset.
Great time to reset. It's the way to think about it. We're going to see bot lane pressure in as well. It's level 6 for both Uyan and Corporal. Not quite there for Gang yet, so potentially room to engage on the Lulu. It'd be a bit risky. This Rift Herald is being started by Steel, but Natsume is going to roam down and dissuade the jungle cat. Ebby, though, is like, are you sure? Are you really sure you want to stop my jungler doing this? This is a fight you want, is it? And the boss walks up in lane, and Natsume having a difficult time here, I think it's fair to say. And the Rift Herald was only dissuaded for 10 or so seconds. Hoglet is potentially roaming up. Bot lane of DFM are roaming towards the Krugs as the bot lane is shoved in, aware that there might be some pressure down here, but that is already taken. Hoglet's going to try and prevent DFM from getting to that Eye of the Herald, but Ebby's just going to run over it, picks it up, and they cannot be dissuaded. Seros is around as well. Hoglet will dash his way over the wall, and that will be the end of that. Bot lane played safe. Top lane got the, well, top 3 managed to get their way to a Rift Herald. Nice stuff from DFM.
Yeah, and, well, with that being on Ebby, he's just going to probably force this into Natsume and push even harder than he's already been doing. Yes, he's only got a 15 gold lead. Oh, wait a second. Gadiadu?
Here we go again. Taken really, really low. It's going to chunk people out as we're seeing this Mountain Drake getting ready to be contested for, as Hoglet's actually found his way to a very scary onslaughting Aphelios, who chunks into about half HP there. That was a bit of a surprise for Hoglet. It was like, oh dear, and had to flash his way out to safety. And that's going to earn DFM a lot of control around this river. It was another back force by Galio, who does have the teleport. Isn't going to burn it. It's going to walk straight back to lane instead. Hoglet has been found by Steel, though. And that's the 1v1 kill in the jungle. And it's another game where Hoglet's Graves is put in a difficult position. 0-2 and 0, down 15 CS. Ebby's onto Natsume as well. He's still got Rift Herald in inventory. He's still thinking about going for more. There's going to be a teleport in from Gariara to try and find this trade, but it's too late. Ebby's already got the 1v1 kill. Gariara is here. I don't think he wants to fight versus this set. Maybe
not with those grit stacks. No, if Ebby gets those grit stacks up, he just doesn't have to worry about him.
It will stop the Rift Herald summon at least, which is going to prevent tower damage, and it'll be a teleport into mid lane from Natsume. But that was Natsume's 3rd death, and Uyan rather is the one who teleports in. I apologize because Natsume was still dead, and he takes a dark spear to the face for his troubles. And DFM looking more like what we expected of them, and this has kind of been a game on and a game off for them in 2 weeks in a row now. They've had one game, at least they won the game where they looked a bit off this week, so that's some credit to them. But checking in now with the gold, we're kind of seeing DFM winning pretty much across the map in terms of gold totals.
Yeah, they're winning across the map. They're very comfortable in everything. I don't actually, no, there's not a single lane where the team of AXIZ are actually ahead. That is, the closest one is actually Corporal and Gang, which is partly because Corporal has stayed in lane and he's just been around the gold more and been able to poke more with his well, actually not even poke more, actually kill the minions because he decided to go for which is the world where you actually get tankier. I'm a support main, I should know this and I don't. This is awkward. I hope production will save me.
The shoulder guards is the start of support item.
Oh yes, thank you.
There you go. I've got you, man. So, important to point that out because, of course, as we're cresting over to the 2nd Drake spawn, worth checking in on a few items. It's 2-0-1 for this Nidalee, and that means she's got herself a completed jungle item alongside an amp tone in inventory. Set's got an Executioner's Calling and a Phage, which is nice stuff. It's the GLP in for Syndra. No completed first items for the AD carries. It's going to be attempted engage here from Uinyan and Corporal, but they don't manage to get anything. It will save the mid lane tower, but not the plates. And that's more gold into the inventory of DFM, who are up nearly 4,000 gold as the Mountain Drake is spawned, and as Steel has free reign to do what the hell he likes to that big rocky Drake.
Yeah, that is just still taking priority, and it will be interesting to see the rift of this game. If it's an air Drake, this game will take a little bit longer to close out. If it's infernal, TFM are gonna take it aggressively, and it will be a quick one.
You called it. It's infernal. Natsume, why are you running? Got to try and get away from Steel and Seros, and there's just no chance. That'll be a second kill for Seros, and Natsume now 1-4. And Ebby's like, well, here comes the 3-man dive. Can he survive? He's pretty tanky, but I think this could be a bit of an ask. All right, teleports coming in. DFM looking to contest the attempted dive, and AXIZ probably wisely back away. Seros at level 11 with no ultimate granted, but a lot of damage. Probably a challenge to come and deal with.
Yeah, this is definitely in a spot that DFM thought they would be in at the beginning, and this is a spot that AXIZ are... well, actually, probably weren't expecting to be in exactly. This is a team of AXIZ which, outside of Natsume, had pretty competitive games versus DFM. While eventually the game did normally fall and slip away, it wasn't normally by the 15-minute mark. It was normally a bit earlier, and even Uinyan didn't sadly die this many times this early. But
I mean,
it's hard. It's against
the
Ebby
Set versus Mordekaiser matchup in I think it was the second game where Ebby really did blow open that top side of the
He did,
map, and that's feeling a bit similar again. And I feel that DFM have at least kind of got AXIZ number on this side. I mean, there's been multiple games where Galliardo on the Orianna actually looked pretty dangerous versus DFM, and that was something. That top 2v2 has been a weakness versus DFM for AXIZ. It's proving to be so here, especially because Natsume is stepping into a difficult position, as we've kind of already alluded to a few times. It's a level up for Steel. It's 20 CS up for Steel. It's a level up for Evie. It's 20 CS up for Ebby. It's about even in the mid lane, you'd say, for CS, but it's 2 kills for Seros. It's 20 CS up in the bot lane. There's not a lot of good news here for AXIZ, at least. They've got some items coming through now. Maybe they can find a fight around the next Dragon or the next Herald where they get a big wombo combo. They've got a lot of burst, damage, wave, get an Aatrox into the backline. That sounds pretty good news. And Hogler's got himself in some flank position here. Maybe he can find something. Gonna try and get a chunk out onto Gang. That's a lot of damage. And Lulu's gonna run away with half her health bar removed. All right. Herald's live. Ebby's on the bot side, shoving in. He's got teleport, can find his way to a fight if it's required. But DFM are not likely to give up this Rift Herald for free. The turrets to none. They are not going to think about giving up this Herald. Hoglet's around in contesters. Uinyan and Corporal are up, having to deal with this top wave. And I think Hoglet and the rest of AXIZ have to be very careful about contesting this Herald.
Well, it does look like Steel is thinking about resetting.
Yeah, he is.
He might have a lot of current gold sitting on them, so it might be part of the reason why he's aggressively thinking that. Also...
oh, my days, it's just gone. Well, what happened to Seros in the last game happens to Uinyan in this one, but this time, that's going to be a shutdown onto the Aphelios, but actually, Hoglet's taken very, very low. Galliardo trying to flash out, taken very low by the Facebreaker. Slowed down, showstopper. Here comes the Haymaker, we've got to assume. Doesn't even need it, just punches the robot to death. Natsume gets chunked out. You're supposed to be World Ender, not World Ended, and he's taken out. It's a 2 for none. 3 for none, really, because Uinyan's already dead. It's Hoglet and Corporal desperately trying to escape, and DFM are trying to punish for the sin of engaging on their AD carry. Utapon about to be avenged here. There's a lot of healing, but the Graves Yumi combo surely can't survive. There is the Haymaker, and the cat falls as an afterthought to the top laner of Ebby. It's a double for him at the end of it as well.
Oh, God, Ebby is just scary on set is all I'm going to take away from all of this.
1 and 3.
Oh my God. Steel's having a phenomenal game. Seros is having a great game. And Gang, on his debut performance of Lulu, is having a incredible game, really, on this Lulu.
Utapon, get your kill participation up. He's only got 1 out of the 11 kills.
And he sadly began all of that by dying first before anything else happened. Sadly, the team of AXIZ collapsed, found a pick, and it looked potentially good for them. Sadly, though, the rest of DFM were able to collapse on to AXIZ, and, well, that was kind of all she wrote about it.
You know, we're kind of throwing a little bit of fun at Utapon there, but largely it's because the game has not been played around the bot side.
No.
We'll see the replay here as Utapon does a good flash out of the shockwave, but does eventually lose his health bar.
I think that was 3 ultimates used just to kill him, by the way. I think that was the final chapter, as well as also the Graves ultimate coming down, which that's not good. And I think the Orianna was actually tankier than the Aatrox, which is always a weird spot to be in.
Okay, that's 3 versus 5 right now, AXIZ. Are you sure you want this? No, I apologize for because there was the Yumi, but it's too late. Yuanyan's gone.
No.
The Haymaker is there. It's a double already. Corporal is next on the chopping block, and Gariaru has nowhere to go. It's a clean ace. It's a triple for Ebby. A double for the otherwise uninvolved Aphelios in this game. And not even suddenly, it's just looking like a whitewash now for DFM. 8-1-5 is this set. And 1-6 is the opposing Aatrox. 1-4 is Hoglet's Graves. And the top 2v2 has collapsed. The fights, they've just got nothing to do anymore.
If AXIZ aren't singing Hello Darkness, my old friend, well, they are missing an opportunity as they have come to talk with them again. They are seeing those grey screens a fair few times, sadly, and well, this is just a matter of time for DFM, how they want to end this game now. It's not going to be the fastest game. That still will remain to the Hawks for this split, but DFM will probably look for a decisive game. God, Ebby, you are just a monster. Steel as well, and in all fairness, Utapon, almost all 2k damage plus. Well, actually, if you...
So it's like, I'm ready, I'm going to ultimate. Oh, they're all dead.
Yeah, Cyril's... they 4v5'd.
Need him.
They actually just 4v5'd without him, even though he was there.
All right, Seros maybe in a little trouble, but has got the Banshee spell and the slowdown as well. It's a lot of damage. Whew. That was nearly a lot of trouble then. Naptame going to be in trouble. Has to flash away from Steel, who's pouncing his way into the base looking for this kill. I think Steel might be a little deep here. Gets minion blocked a bit as well. He's going to try and find his way. He's got another tower to find his way behind. And I think he might just fall.
The heal!
Does survive. Shot barrage misses. And Steel doesn't pay for his hyper regression. And congratulations, first tower at 21 minutes into the game. It's 99 problems for AXIZ, and it's only a 1% chance of them to win it. The stat box, I feel, is more than true enough here. It is over a 10,000 gold lead. It is 3 Drakes to none. It is 5 turrets to 1. I'd check in more, but I think it feels a little bit unfair to AXIZ at this point because they are just so far behind in itemization, in levels, in gold, in map control. They just don't have anywhere to be on the map, and their combo that's supposed to blow people up half health people instead. That's all they've got.
So you know how I mentioned earlier how Ebby is having a phenomenal game, and you and Nymera, when you were casting a game earlier, we saw a player get 8 kills in one game. Today.
We did.
That means Ebby is now tied for most kills. With this game still going on, Ebby could take Arya's spot as the most kills.
4 kills to find.
I mean,
maybe.
We're saying there's a chance.
We're saying there's a chance. It was 3-1-5 in his last game on the set versus AXIZ in spring. This time around, he's 8-1-5 and he's still got games to play. It's an Infernal Soul on the Rift in 2 minutes. It's, you know, a Syndra, which you can't pick right now because she's got Banshee's Veil and GLP, and she's just there to slow people down for everyone else to run at people. And like, AXIZ, they've got their carries here, like Graves, Aatrox running into a slow field, then turn around really slowly and run away from the vast quantities of damage that DFM put out right now. And we've got to think about what can AXIZ do to try and triage their way back into this game. Maybe they can find the god tier ultimate combo between the Ezreal, the Orianna, and the Graves, but that's kind of feeling like it right now. They've got to catch. DFM need to make mistakes, and I don't think with the map control they have and the champions they're playing that's likely to happen.
Wait, did you say DFM make a mistake?
Well, we saw it in the last couple games, but never mind. There's a showstopper in, and Hoglet is doing like, please, no, let me flash, let me survive. I can't go into my own jungle.
And Ebby's like, no.
That feels like my solo queue games, and Ebby's just, he's hunting for those stats at this point, it feels like. And like, we're kind of joking, we're making these kind of like pained calls on behalf of AXIZ because that's where the game's evolved to. I'd love to be more serious. I'd love to give AXIZ something more to talk about. But they don't have any options. Hoglet's had to back. He's had to flash. He lost his health bar. And it's a two-man Baron start by Utapon and Ebby. It's Chakram, Severum, and a very, very fed set who's doing damage. Hoglet's going to find his way back, but he's got to walk through all the slow fields we talked about. There's the GLP out. There's the ultimate out to escape from the damage, and this Baron is gone. I'm sorry. Hoglet cannot find their way in. There's the speed up, and it's too late. There it is. It's dead. That's a decent shockwave, but Seros flashes it, and Hoglet now has to try and find their way away. Good damage, at least, from AXIZ, but Baron's taken. It's too late.
That was one of the messiest Barons I think I've seen DFM take. It wasn't the cleanest one that we've seen from Burning Core, making those very aggressive calls. DFM left it open, but I mean, it doesn't seem to matter when you've got, let's have a quick look, a 14k gold lead initialized? A 14k gold lead. I don't think it matters at that point.
AXIZ thought about going towards the last Infernal Drake here to stop DFM getting hold of that, but the teleport from Seros warded them away. They at least got the Scuttle Crab, but that will be it, and it will be Infernal Soul as well as Baron, and not even 25 minutes into the game. And you say it was sloppy, but that's because it's still really early on in this game. Yeah. They destroyed the Baron, and their health bars aren't that high at this point in the game, just because they haven't had a chance to get that way.
Fair.
And it just didn't matter.
It doesn't.
They still got it. They got out cleanly. They get the Infernal Drake despite AXIZ desperately trying to see whether they could pick it up. And yeah, that's to Mount Everest of a gold graph.
It almost makes you wonder, are DFM at this point now just trying to not only go for the most kills in one game, but are they also trying to go for the highest gold disparity in a game? Like, is that where we're at in this game? Like, I don't know. We're just we have to try and figure out what they're thinking outside of we want to win this game and we don't want to punt it somehow, even though we've got a 99% chance according to our robot.
I had a storyline set up for this week.
Oh, yes.
Specifically for DFM, they were going against two lower placed teams who were in a difficult position. I said, look, after the last week and after where they want to be, going to think about worlds potentially, DFM need not to aim to beat these teams. They need to aim to traumatize. It was sloppy versus the Jesters. This is traumatizing. This is Ebby building death dance on set. I've seen my production screaming in the notes that is what's going on. And like, a pretty accurate representation of Nightmare right now, and that they're into the base at 26 minutes in. That's Hoglet chunked out by one Dark Sphere. That is where this game is at. This is a monumental level of destruction. AXIZ have got one chance to fight, I think, left in this game, and it is a snowball's chance in Hell, and Hell is named DFM, and the person residing in the ninth circle of it appears to be Ebby, who just cannot be stopped at this point. He is truly a monster right now.
But he's not had any more kills for the last 5 minutes. I'm confused. What do you mean initialize? He's not had more kills. He's still tying. I don't understand.
Let me bring you into this idea that DFM have picked up these kind of important buffs. And I know as a color caster where you're blind, and that could be a difficult thing.
I don't understand what you mean by that.
Don't read map. That's not their job. It's not their job.
No, it's not.
But yeah, but there was this thing called the Baron picked up, and then shortly afterwards they picked up this quite powerful dragon that breathes fire. And now because they picked up 4 of these dragons, they too can breathe fire. And Ebby has both of these things, or had both of these things because the Baron has fallen off, to kind of make AXIZ cry if he's not already caused them to cry and given them
I think they were already
money.
crying. I think they wanted their lunch money back. I think that was far beyond the point. I think when Ebby at level 3 had level 3 and Natsume had level 1, I think that's when the crying began. I think this is just an exacerbated crying that has never ended.
Well, it kind of feels like it's all over but for the crying. It's 2 inhibitors down. It's the sole top lane inhibitor remaining. At least Natsume has recovered the early level deficit, but he is down 2 items. 2 items. I mean, I won't even call the half item because the Executioner's calling matches that up. That is where this game is at right now. With staff in for a 3rd item. There's a Death Dance on a Aphelios. It's a Shirelius and an Ardent Center in for Yumi. She hasn't gone towards the Athenes because, of course, the Nidalee has that right now.
Of course. Oh, how could I be so stupid?
There's a Link in for that as well.
Yeah.
So AXIZ, I've got scant few options remaining. And this, I think, will be it. It is the Alamo. It is a half-health turret. It is Uenyan trying desperately to get away. It's a face breaker and a haymaker that eviscerates, disintegrates the life force of this Ezreal. It's a good scout of the week. It's an unleashed power, and the power of DFM is here to say, we are the Spring Split champions. We are still looking to be your Summer Split champions. And Sengoku Gaming, V3, CGA, any and all of these other teams have got to come and take our heads first because we don't miss. DFM move up to 3-1. They blew this game away.
Congratulations to DFM. A return to form, and be warned, everybody, DFM are back to reclaim their crown and never let anyone beat them again. We're going to collect our thoughts about that brutality we just witnessed, and we'll be back very quickly with Nymera for more added thoughts. See you in a bit.
I never wanted to say what I said. I just wanted an explanation. When I close my eyes before going into Universum, I think about the moment we were hoping wouldn't end, because I never knew it was my imagination. I never wanted to say what I said, I just wanted an explanation. Never wanted.
Hello and welcome back. We have finished our coverage of LJL Week 2's last 4 games of the day. We'll go and recap the first 4 tomorrow if you hadn't caught us on Twitter saying that earlier. We just watched DFM, or maybe just Ebby, dismantle AXIZ. It's worth noting that Set is actually more often than not played in top lane anymore, and yet Ebby brings it back in style, picks up 9 kills, has the second most kills of any single player in an LGL game this split so far. What did you guys think of Ebby returning to maybe his most powerful pick now?
Brothers and sisters, we are gathered here today to celebrate the life and death of AXIZ, who were brutally murdered by a boss in the top lane. Set and Ebby do this every time he downward gets a champion versus like certain matchups which Set can abuse. Levels 1, 2, 3. The face breaker start, zoning people off from the wave. The early dive from the Nidalee was just obnoxious, and it just destroyed the top 2v2 from minute 1.
Yeah,
it did indeed. Yeah, so no, Lexi, go on for it.
Oh, I mean, that it's just dominant, and this is genuinely a pick, if it's ever had to play worldwide, would confuse and surprise other top laners, because he plays Set unlike anybody else I see playing Set in the top lane.
He abuses his advantages really well on that champion. However, he does abuse his advantage quite a lot in a lot of different matchups. In DFM's first matchup versus AXIZ last split, he sent Eunyan 0-4. And in the second game, also sent Eunyan 0-4. This is a return to unfortunate losing ways for AXIZ, who do tend to fall apart around that kind of top 2v2 versus DFM in particular. So, Lexi, what did you make of the early 2v2s which went on this game?
I mean, we've seen this countless times. Steel almost feels far more confident going to the top lane than the mid lane. Siros seems very comfortable with just farming and scaling, as it would be. And Jesus, Ebby and Steel just have perfect synergy in so many different aspects. Steel actively hung around for much longer. One, because he knew Hoglet's pathing, and you could see with the pings and just his awareness of, yeah, you're still here, that's fine. I'm pretty sure I can kill you while I'm also killing your new guy. It's fine. Don't worry, I got this. And they probably did. Again and again and again. And it's just this trust.
Again. Yes, it is. And it's also the execution as well. Something which has been failing Hoglet of all players from AXIZ, I think it's fair to say. And, you know, we try not to put a target on players' backs. We try to, you know, give them the benefit of the doubt. But Hoglet, would you say alarm bells are ringing for AXIZ now, Initialize?
Yeah, I do. Obviously, they're in a difficult position with subs. Uinyan down the bot lane, that's not a winning lane right now because of where that player's at. Natsume is not a winning lane. Hoglet was the last of their really star players, in some ways, outside of Garyadi from last split, and he's been struggling on the carry junglers. His Rek'Sai was great. His Sejuani is great. That's not what's in mana right now. It is things like the Graves, the Nidalees, the Echoes, as once is showing us, and they haven't impressed me right now from Hoglet. So at the minute, it feels like Garyadi versus the world, and his lanes are falling apart around him.
Yeah. Well, kind of going back to the larger picture of things then, DFM, on the more positive side of things, felt more on point, I think it's fair to say. So, how are you feeling about DFM, particularly after this game? We'll go back to Initialize, because you are our DFM guy.
Yeah. So, like, let me posit this to you. This has been 2 weeks in a row now. We've had a really blowout performance from DFM where they've crushed it, and one where we've gone, the Sengoku game where they were a bit off, lost them the game. Versus Rascal Jesters, it was pretty sloppy. I'm seeing a little bit of a kind of execution flaw where, like, sometimes this team falls into what's something like the G2 mindset, where they look to execute these plays in team fights and around the what should be the 50-50 scenarios, and no, because they have that extra 1%, they're likely to come out on top, and that's fantastic, and it wins them games that maybe wouldn't otherwise, and allows them to draft comps they wouldn't otherwise. If it doesn't work out, then we start seeing issues.
Okay, speaking of seeing issues, just going to recap the games which we have covered today. First off, we covered DFM taking down Rascal Jester in a back-and-forth affair. Rascal Jester went on to lose to Burning Core off of a huge carry performance from Once, and he reprised that performance versus AXIZ in their win versus them. And then we just finished off casting DFM versus AXIZ just now. So, Lexi, kind of going back to these 4 games of today, is there any kind of standout performance or running theme throughout the day that you'd like to recap?
Burning Core have definitely figured out some of their problems that we notified and noticed not only in our podcast recapping week 1, but also kind of concerns that we had coming into this split. They were a team that I rated actually at the bottom of the table. They had huge underlying problems. A long-standing, their mid laner, Raki, had left them and retired for this split, and there were so many questions on this team. They had good players. We had seen Ray Farkey, specifically Ray Farkey, Once, and Proud have moments in games where they were genuinely very...
Moments of brilliance, yeah.
Yeah, but they never seemed to be able to all mirror up a lot, and a lot of the time it just seemed to be the Ray Farkey show with the rest of Burning Core kind of along for the ride, and that's how they somehow found themselves in a tiebreaker spot. But I think Ray Farkey and crew have figured out the problems that they had before, and AXIZ and Rascal Jester are still on the decline so far.
Maybe on the decline, but hopefully with substitutes coming in, maybe in the next couple of weeks, they might be able to turn that around. Of course, the coronavirus is still prevalent across much of the world and has led to some travel restrictions, and it is an unfortunate situation for those teams hit by those travel restrictions. I want to ask the question which I asked Alexi initialized to you in terms of, are there any themes or performances which you'd really like to recap from today?
In junglers we trust. The junglers that can carry are carrying. Steel with the Nidalee look pretty damn good.
Of course, the jungle would say that.
Biased.
Once's Echo is monstrous, frankly. It is really, really good. And the junglers that can't carry are becoming problematic. I've seen it from Hoglet.
Yes. And okay, and on that note, tomorrow morning, around about the same time as we did today, we will be covering the first 4 games of today. Of course, due to time zone differences and our own vocal cords, we can't cover 8 games in a day. It's not healthy. Don't do it. Don't try it. So we will be covering Sengoku Gaming versus the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming, V3 versus Sengoku Gaming, CGA Crest Gaming Act versus V3, and then capping things off for week 2 with, once again, the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming versus Crest Gaming Act. So guys, before we kind of get onto that broadcast tomorrow, what are you feeling about those 4 games?
Well, no spoilers, of course, but it is Sengoku Gaming, V3, and CGA, these pretenders to the crown, all sat at 2-0, and they are playing off against each other. And this is where we're going to start to see where teams are truly at the top of the table. They all look pretty good, and I am expecting some interesting games between them tomorrow.
Of course, and Lexi.
Yeah, we've got 2 games definitely up there for being contention for play or match of the day, being V3 versus Sengoku and CGA versus V3. Yes, both V3 games, but I mean, it's because there's so many of the members on that team, plus also the members on the opposite teams, are just so exciting. And I mean, we've already seen CGA versus Sengoku, so we can't have a repeat of that one until after week 4.
It's no CGA versus Burning Core, but...
Well, that was definitely a match.
That game was. What a beautiful
That was a match.
Yeah, legitimately, that's my favorite LJL matchup. I love CGA Burning Core. It's so messy.
It is remnants of the VCS and LPL over in the LJL, which we don't see very often.
Yes. And of course, there are a great many regions playing matches today. I think there are 52 professional games being played across all the world today. However, this will be the end of our stint today. So thank you very, very much for joining us and sticking with us through technical difficulties and all the other mess which we might have to deal with on stream. So on that note, we bid you a good day. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.